Jaden, Jaden.
I ran up a check, I might do it again. Enemies close, had me thinking they're friends. 10 toes down, I'll be free until the end. Crib outside the city, I don't feel safe in my hands. Took so many years, I'm just waiting for the wins. I'm in debt to no one but the one who took my sins. I do it for real, there's no reason to pretend. If I do it once, I do it again. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up. I'm just doing me, everything is on me, oh you matter what. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up. I'm just doing me, everything is on me, oh you matter what. Add it up. Told her if it's all me, everything is on me, gon' back it up. Matter what. Told you I'ma do me, why you hating on me? It's not adding up. I do roll like a Mack truck, country heart, I might cop a farm and go act up. Lot of scars, I was cold-hearted, now I'm back up. Keep it real, I do this once a month, I don't rap much. I just take the money and go stack up.
Hello, 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 everybody. This is Marie with another Incarceration to Incorporate. How y'all doing tonight? We have on Mr. John Bush, but first I would like to give a shout out to Mr. Julius Hall, who allow us to come on to share our stories, give us the safe space, to Mr. Julius Campbell, my co-host, who is taking some time off, and the brainchild of Incarceration to Incorporate, Mr. AB. I am here with the awesome Mr. John Bush, who I think is a phenomenal leader. So I know that he's going to have good information for us on leadership. What does that mean? And mentoring. So, Mr. Bush, how you doing tonight?
Well, hello. How you doing? I'm doing fine on this end.
I am fine, thank you. So, Mr. Bush, can you tell me your name and who, tell the people who you are?
Oh, John Bush, Windsor Forest graduate, local City of Savannah employee, community leader, youth leader, minister of the gospel,
Very good.
coach, Boy Scout leader.
Wow, that's a lot.
Uncle. That's the important one. Uncle, not a
That's a
daddy,
lot.
not a daddy, but definitely uncle.
But that's good, Mr. Bush. Mr. Bush, I was getting on. We had about 2 weeks ago, we were talking about mentorship and what does that mean? What does mentorship and mentoring the youth nowadays? What would you say? What makes a good mentor?
For me, I'm going to say it's putting away the academics and getting to the practical. You have a lot of theories and a lot of ideas that
Mhm,
play out well in instructional purposes. Great for a classroom, great for debate.
mhm,
But when you get out in the streets and you start actually working with individuals that actually are in need of mentoring, not necessarily the individuals who walk towards the mentor, but the individuals who most need the mentors, it really comes down to that practical experience, that applied science, not so much the theoretical. So being that 24/7 individual who is available when they
mhm.
actually need you, not when your office hours are.
Say that again, because I need for you to say that so they can. I'm talking about the ones who are mentors, that
Mhm.
they can get that. Say that last piece again, Mr. Bush, that you said not with about the office hours.
Or the part about being available when they need you, not when your office
Yeah,
hours are. Yeah.
exactly, Mr. Bush.
At 5 o'clock, when everything shuts down, that's when you go to work. You have plenty of
Exactly.
resources in the community that are available 8 to 5.
Hmm.
That's why you don't hear so many people jumping off bridges from 8 to 5. That's why you don't hear so many call outs for services from 8 to 5, because they
Right.
have everything they need. But at that moment of crisis, when everybody else shuts down the businesses, that's when those mentors, that's when those crisis workers have to go to work.
Yes, Mr. Bush, of course, about verbal and visual, and I want to talk a little bit about that. We took the kids to Memorial Hospital last week, and they spoke. Matter of fact, they spoke with the trauma surgeon there at Memorial, and he really, I was very impressed by the surgeon. He shared his feelings on what guns do to for people that's in gun and gang violence, right? And he expressed how the way he felt, and he began to cry. And he said that he didn't know that he would cry, because when he started expressing his feelings to the young people there, he said that, it's so much more that you all can do. It's so much more that you all can be. But I was just wondering, Mr. Bush, why can't they not get that? Like Isaac felt when he came to Step Up yesterday, he said that he don't want to talk about the problem, he want to talk about the solution. So what would be the solution, Mr. Bush? If we got the resources, then why aren't the kids getting what they need to make them better? What you think the discord is?
I'm gonna throw a plug in there right quick. May 9th, we will be hosting the 10th annual mental health symposium here in Savannah through Gateway.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the answer. A lot of times we have so much undiagnosed trauma, PTSD in our community from all these different experiences we have, from being molested as children to being in group fights, being bullied, being involved in gang activity, being shot at, having lost so many loved ones in so many different traumatic ways, whether it be early death to cancer, car accidents, drownings, and like as of late, all the gun violence that we've been experiencing in our communities. People become desensitized to that. And like you mentioned, the trauma doctor actually crying in front of you. There's those rare moments where those first responders will break down. I mean, I've had those moments where I was in the parking lot crying with families too. Each time you actually have those occurrences, that's a once in a lifetime thing we try to lean towards, where we hope that family only experiences that once. But you got to understand the individual that's helping, that's getting them through that, whether it be the doctor, the nurse, the first responder, the EMTs, the police officers, those crisis intervention specialists, those violence intervention specialists, all of us, we go through that almost on a daily basis with so many different people. The faces change, but the trauma still remains. And the thing that you actually probably witnessed with the doctor was that moment where he actually opens up to feel it.
Yeah.
You can't have that moment that he had with you in between patients. You're willing one out and willing another one in. And he has to keep going on, and then he has to take that off, leave it at work, so he doesn't bring that home to his household. So constantly, over and over again, suppressing that feeling until they explode. We're having a crisis right now in the nation where they're starting to move to virtual nurses. I mean, you're having work from home nurses. They're in a call box at the office. So instead of you calling in on your phone at home, you actually come to the hospital and you sitting up in a room talking to a nurse on the phone anyway.
Wow.
Because the nurses are leaving the environment. It is a lot to take in. It is hard to hold on and keep pushing on and keep pushing on and keep pushing on. So everybody's experiencing it, but very, very few of us are taking that moment to actually go get some help about it. It's not normal. It shouldn't be normal, and we can't normalize it.
Right.
We have to accept that it's not normal, and then we have to accept that we need help. We'll tell everybody else to go get help, but we won't tell ourselves. And we'll tell everybody else, I'm all right.
That's the truth. That is, I like what Miss Emily, we had the surgeon, the trauma surgeon, then it was the chaplain. The chaplain spoke with the kids, and she was telling them the effects of how when they come out after the doctor doesn't explain that the young person, whoever has gotten shot, how they sit with the families. And they was just saying the trauma, like you said, Mr. Bush, how the trauma, how it affects their loved ones. And young people don't see that because they think that it's cool to pick up a gun. It's cool to pick up a gun and to shoot someone. And so the surgeon was saying, he said, now, do you think death is, do you think that I just see death? He says 12 and 13-year-olds I see with bullets. I have to drill holes into their bodies and they'll never walk again. But just like you said too, Mr. Bush, they get desensitized. It's like a norm to them. I mean, when you watch their faces, they don't even flinch, like saying that they don't even flinch. But you know what? Can I tell you something, Mr. Bush? Miss Prelo from the Mediation Center was just there 2 days ago, right? And oh, she did awesome with the kids. You know, she asked them, I've never seen them open up like that, Mr. Bush. They were so open. They was responding back to her. They were talking back to her. She said, she said, if somebody was to walk in the room and I had to describe your characteristics, what would you not want me to call you? And they say a delinquent. They wouldn't want to be called a delinquent. They wouldn't want to be called stupid. And it was one young man, Lex. Oh, he really spoke out. He was saying how he wanted to be a football player, Mr. Bush, but he said he changed his mind. He wanted to be a conductor on the railroad. So I was saying, if you know what, me knowing you, right, and you know somebody who can get him in connection, that's what I think that we need. That's why I was saying mentor, because even though we have these programs, Mr. Bush, we need to follow up. We need to follow up and to stay behind them. That's what I want to talk to you about, like mentorship, like you said, after 8 to 5. So they need somebody who is going to stay on them, not per se. I'm going to say this, Miss Prelo, she didn't talk at them. She talked with them. And so I believe that's the reason why they open up. So if you know somebody who worked for the railroad, Mr. Bush, me and Fred said we were going to look around so that he can go ahead and maybe he can do an internship for the summer. So how do you feel about that, Mr. Bush?
Well, I think that's an excellent idea. And like you said, you may not know about somebody, but somebody else in your circle knows. And that's the privilege of being in a network. Like when we network with OA, and we also network with Life Skills Empowerment, and we also network with the Mediation Center and Youth Empowerment Specialists and the Youth Advocacy Program, the Youth Intercept Program, Memorial Hospital. When we all get out of our silos and start working cohesively together, we actually become an effective team. And it takes a village. It's not just that one mentor that's important. That mentor is nothing without his network and his people. So there's some days when that mentor's going to be asleep and his phone might ring. We need that phone to start rolling over to the next number if he can't answer the phone. Everybody's got to be working cohesively all the time. You're going to be asleep sometime. Cool, we understand that. But the need is still going to be there even if you're asleep, even if you're on vacation, even if you're having a crisis.
Right.
Now, how do we
prevent
that other person?
Mr. Bush, I think that adults need mentors too.
Absolutely.
I think that adults need mentors. I like what you say, roll over. That call, you may not be able to get that call, but the call can roll to, if it don't roll to you, it can roll to me, or roll to Mr. Julius Hall or Julius Campbell. It's about connecting the dots. And it's not about, oh, just come to my organization and, just help my organization. This is about, people really think that it takes a village is a cliche. It really isn't. These kids need us. They really need us. And you know what I like? I told them, Mr. Bush, I want them to hold us accountable. Because if we ask them not to pick up a gun and not to do those things, then guess what Marie can't do? Marie can't go pick up a gun and act silly in the street either.
Not just that. Marie is now responsible for replacing that gun.
Wow. Okay.
So you told me to put it down. Now what am I picking up? You haven't given me anything to pick up, and you expect me to give up what I already have that's working.
Wow. I never thought of that.
I know that works. When we ask them to stop smoking weed, they're self-treating their diagnosis that they've come up with. I got a problem. I don't know what it is. I don't know the words for it, but this helps me get through it. This helps me deal with it. And then we say, stop doing that. But we haven't taken them to a psychiatrist. We haven't got them a prescription that's going to replace that. We haven't changed their diet that might replace that. We haven't changed the place that they go that might replace the need for the marijuana or whatever drug that they're using, alcohol, whatever. We have to change what we're asking them to do as we change what we're supplying them with to do. It can't be just one and not the other. And we have to do like we were just talking about, a continuum of care. We have to continue to offer services.
Excuse me, Mr. Bush. We're gonna take a commercial break, and we'll be right back, and you can finish explaining.
Yes.
Where's Mr. Hall? Well, I guess he don't want me to
Hi,
take a
I'm Katie Brewington, and I'm running for Magistrate Court Judge.
Go ahead.
Magistrate Court is often called the People's Court because people represent themselves or are pro se litigants. Magistrate Court handles civil claims up to $15,000, dispossessory proceedings, pre-warrant applications, and good behavior bonds. I'm a great candidate for judge because I have the experience, compassion, and drive to get the job done. I have been a probation officer, a criminal defense attorney, a solicitor, and a municipal court judge, and I will take all of that experience to get the job done. So remember, vote Katie Brewington, May 21st, from Magistrate.
Okay, welcome back to Incarceration to Incorporate. We are talking about mentorship, leadership, and we have Mr. John Bush if you're just tuning in. So, Mr. Bush, can you go ahead and finish explaining to me to substitute the things that we're telling them to put away? If we're telling them to put the marijuana away, now what was you saying, Mr. Bush?
Yeah, I was explaining about a continuum of care. It's where we take an individual and we actually identify the need. There is a need there. And as we're working on it, you're going to discover other needs and other shortcomings. Well, the thing is, we have programs, we have initiatives, and all these things either come to an end, or somebody graduates out of them, or they get booted out of them, or it just doesn't work for that individual. That doesn't change the fact that it was filling a gap, or needed to fill a gap, or a shortcoming with it, whatever. So this individual now needs to be transitioned to another program, another service provider, another level. And when they get that completed, there's still another level they need to be transferred. They're still in that need, like the 12 steps when you're talking about alcohol and drug addiction. It's a 12-step process. It's a 24-step process, a 36-step process. You still have elevations to go through, and you can't do it alone. We need to make sure that once we start identifying somebody has a problem, that we help them with that problem continuously. Now, when we're talking about continual care, it's also that not just elevating, but expanding. So as you're dealing with a level 1 housing need, that housing need is probably there because we have a underemployment situation. Most people are working, they're just not making enough money. So with that underemployment need, we need to educate them so they can obtain a job that's better. So we got an educational shortcoming.
Right.
What's the blockade that's been keeping all of that steady at the bottom? It's typically a mental health issue. There's some things that we've psychologically adapted ourselves to that are keeping us from being able to elevate, being able to educate, being able to expand, being able to move abroad into that next level. You know, Dr. Brian and I did a class a while back that was just explaining the difference between the poor mindset, the middle class mindset, and the wealthy mindset. The poor class mindset has adapted to spending before I earn it. So they're always in debt, paying back. The middle class mindset has learned to balance it out and is trying to pinch off a little bit to save for the future, trying to pay for things in advance. The wealthy mindset has adapted to, I'm living at my means and I'm not worried about finances. So now I'm preparing for a future philanthropy, giving back, leaving my name to be recognized in the future and things like that. You're asking middle class people, poor people, to stop doing what they're doing. It's like, okay, you need to be putting some money away for the future. I don't have enough money to pay for the past. I can't pay last month's bills, and you're telling me I need to save some for tomorrow's bills.
Exactly, because guess what? Even if how you going to ask a poor person, to save something, just like you said, Mr. Bush, when it's not even enough?
And see, for us in the middle class, I classify myself there, and I've arrived now. I'm in the middle class now.
Okay.
The same way, we're looking at them like, why can't you keep up? Most of your social workers, most of your case managers, most of your school teachers, your hospital workers, they're all in the middle class. And they're
Right.
looking back to help the poor people, but
Mm-hmm.
they're saying, do it this way. This is how it's done. But they're not realizing, like, you still have a middle class mindset. Why have you not adapted to the wealthy mindset?
You should always try to elevate.
You should always be trying to elevate, but why is a middle class person not living like a wealthy person? Why is it not doing? Because looking at their means and what they have to operate with, they don't feel that they're in that stage to where I have enough that I can start paying back. I can't be. Look at our eight historically black colleges and universities.
Right.
Why is there always a shortfall in money? Because even though they graduated from college, they still don't feel like they have enough to give back to the school. You go to predominantly white colleges, and they're always giving back to the school. They're always making the school name bigger, which makes their accreditation of their degrees that much more powerful, which puts them in a position to earn more in the future. So they're paying back to perpetuate themselves
Right.
forward. Even though we have the same means, we don't have the same mindset. So we're not operating in that way. We're looking at a poor
How do we
person
how do we
and
change
asking,
it?
it's education. But before you can educate someone, you have to balance them out. If they can't receive what you're talking about, there's no point in even talking
Right.
to them about it. So that's the biggest obstacle I feel we have to overcome is
Right.
the stigma that puts mental health out of the reach. Because once we achieve mental health, everything else falls in. If we're
Right.
unstable
It's
over
a
here, we
good.
can never build off of that.
You, especially African Americans, Mr. Bush, we don't believe in, like, we think that's a bad thing going to a counselor or a psychiatrist to get help. It is nothing wrong. I'm gonna say that there's nothing wrong with talking to a counselor or a psychologist, a psychiatrist. If you need the help, it can help you. It can even save your life, because a lot of people, the young people at when the mediation center came, Mr. Bush, that's what a lot of them said. I go through this. I ain't talking to nobody because I don't trust nobody. And so they feel like if they can't trust you, then why should I take and tell you my business, because I can't trust you anyway. But then you would never get the help. Fred took and said this. I like what Fred said. He said the song, that song, Lean on Me. He
Hmm.
said, but how would I know if you need me to lean on if you don't tell me that you have a problem? If you don't let me know what's the matter, because I feel like, especially you hit on this too, Mr. Bush. You said about molestation, and a lot of little boys are being molested, and I don't believe that they will tell. I don't believe that they will come and say, "Well, Mr. Bush, this or Miss Marie, this is the case. This is what's going on in my home." Because we as African Americans, we have this: what happened in this house stays in this
Stays in the
house.
house. Yes.
And we have to take and we have to break that cliche. That has to be broken, because what happened in this house can be hurting me. And you need to tell somebody that can help or give you assistance because there's a lot of resources out here.
Well, one of our
But if you
biggest
don't,
issues,
huh?
I'm sorry, one of our biggest issues in the community is those old school playground rules. What happens in the house stays in the house. Oh, that's a
Right,
perfect example of the foolishness that we've actually adapted ourselves to. You turn from that one to I'm not no snitch. Yeah,
that's what they say it too. That's
you
what they
create
say it too, Mr. Bush.
all of these rules are put in place to create an environment conducive to criminal activity. You don't want to live in a criminal environment. You don't want to live in a hood, but yet you won't tell when somebody in the hood is committing a crime. You go to any
That's true.
suburb that's affluent, somebody commits a crime, there's somebody's telling.
Or somebody
Nobody
gonna
wants to
tell.
nobody wants to live next door to a murderer, but you walk out your door like, yeah, that man right over here, he shot so and so last week. Yeah, that man over there, he raped his daughter last month. That man over there, he stole somebody's car. That one over there, he broke into somebody's house. You know this and you ain't said nothing. You
Not
asking to
nothing.
live in a bad environment. And at some point in
Right.
time, the circle of violence and criminal activity pretty much run neck and neck. You witness it long enough, meaning you've seen it, you know it. That means you're in that environment well enough where you end up becoming a victim of what you've witnessed. And then from being a victim, you become the perpetrator. because you don't want to be victimized
Yeah.
again, so you're going to strike first.
That's
So the
right.
simple thing
That is
if you see it, say something. See it, say something.
right.
Point blank, see it, say something. If you don't,
Mhm.
you're asking for that lifestyle to visit you. You're asking to become embedded into that lifestyle. And there's no way out of it once you got into it until you adapt to that see something, say something lifestyle. Because guess what? I went through high school.
Right.
In my particular high school I went to, I'm not even gonna put them on blast like that, but my high school, I found out after I left
Mhm.
that my best friend was deported out of that country for dealing drugs. I never saw
Wow.
drugs the whole time. I never saw any drugs the entire time. They knew you do it around me, I'm opening my mouth. Got a friend of mine lives in Atlanta right now. He
That's
showed up
right.
with a gun. We didn't have any guns. He showed up with a gun.
Mhm.
I used to date his sister. I went and talked.
That's right.
2 months later, I was spending the night at his house again. We were still
Mhm.
friends. He had to get it what he had to get, but he didn't get thrown in jail for shooting somebody because who he gonna shoot? One of us. He gonna be
Right.
mad. He gonna have a bad day. He gonna get his butt kicked, and what's he gonna do? He gonna lash out on one of us.
That's right.
So what's that gun for? That gun is to take one of our lives.
That's right.
So I
That
opened
you
my mouth.
know,
I said something.
and there's nothing wrong with. Let me say this. I don't believe it's nothing wrong with saying something. Mr. Bush, who is that gentleman? That other gentleman? He works for you all. He work at your office. He came with Isaac yesterday at Step Up. What's his name?
Mr. Marco George,
He was talking.
Reverend
He will
Marco
make.
George,
And
First
I'm
African
quite
Baptist.
sure.
Yes.
Right. I'm quite sure he'll make a great mentor. Also, Mr. Bush, because
Why
he
you think
was
we hired
speaking
him?
on. You know how he goes. Huh?
Why you think we hired him?
I don't. That's what I'm saying. He will make
We
a
hired the
great,
best.
great mentor. Yes, yes. Oh, he is so good. He was telling us about his past and you know how when he was 14 years old, and he said how he had a gun in his pocket and how him and another young man, I guess they had words. And he said that's what made him change his life because he made a decision. That a decision could have went left because he could have, he said he wanted to shoot the guy in his face. He said, but he made a decision that day to change his life. And he was saying that a lot of these kids have PTSD. That's what it's called, PTSD.
Yes. Post-traumatic
And he
stress
said a
syndrome
lot of these kids, he said
or
he
disorder.
right. He said he was in the Marines, Mr. Bush, and a lot of these kids are more go through here. He said he believed that the kids go through more than what the Marine Corps go through. That we got to do something, Mr. Bush. And I know that we're trying. You really are trying, Mr. Bush. But what else can we do? Like, how do we get the men on board? The uncles, if you don't have daddy in the house, the cousins, the uncles, like you say, you're an uncle. How do we get more men on board to be mentors?
Well,
And why have not they stepped up?
Well, one thing I've pointed out is the fact that can't nobody work for free anymore. The days of the volunteer, honor creed country, that's over with. It's got to
Right.
pay. It's got to pay.
Right.
And there's enough money in the system coming in so many different ways that we could actually fund mentorship programs. One of the ways we can fund a mentorship program is some of that if we took 2% of child support. You know, most of the kids that need child support, most of the kids that are in need of mentoring, they're only getting $25 a week child support or $25 a month. 2% of that is not going to hurt their pockets. But you got other kids out here receiving $5,000, $16,000 a month child support. 2% of that will help to make sure they can have a safe life because the kid they go into class with that's only getting $25 has a mentor that's keeping their mind right. So it benefits everybody if we actually took some of that child support money and use it to mentor the child to replace the absence of the father that they actually need in their household. That's just one way we could actually put the mentors back in. The other way is to stop criminalizing fatherhood. Every time we come into an encounter in which the mother and the father don't agree, he gets arrested. We've adopted this model of parenting that says parenting is loving and cuddling. Well, love Love, total love, is both warm and nurturing, but it's also tough and structured. The mother gives
Okay.
that warm, nurturing side, excuse me, and the
Mm-hmm.
father gives that structure and discipline. Together, they
Mm-hmm.
form total love. But you take the father out of the mix and keep cuddling this kid and loving on this kid, and they don't have any discipline and structure, they cannot succeed on their own. But every time we come into a situation where we discuss love, you will hear everybody. I want you to key in on this. When you hear people talking about love, I love my child, but I discipline my child too.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that be doubling down on the statement? If love
Yes.
is discipline, you do not associate love with discipline. That's what's wrong with your child. You haven't figured out
Right.
that discipline your child is love. You have to add love into it.
Okay. I
Yeah,
like that.
that's the whole situation. We've adapted a model to where the mother side of the world is the only piece that's right. You go into the school system, we can't paddle children anymore. Well, heck, the rest of us grew up getting paddled, and we knew what not to do. You know why?
That's
The
right.
same thing we learned at 2 years old when you touched the hot stove for the first time. You touch
Exactly.
the stove, you got burned. If you touch it
That's
again,
right.
you're gonna get burned. And if you touch it a third
Yes.
time, ain't no second chances. That's discipline and structure.
That's
When we
right.
took
I
that out
like
of the
that.
household, now you get second chances. Guess what? I'm not listening. You boom, walk in front of a car. When the daddy said stop, you stopped.
Automatically.
I see videos right now. Mama said, "You need to go to bed. You need to get in bed." Daddy walk in the room, and the kid look back, see daddy just crawl up in the bed. He ain't got no words to say.
Don't even have enough. Mr. Bush, you are accurate about that. Guess what? We have to take a break. We'll be back in just a second. Mr. Hall. All right, we're back with Mr. John Bush talking about mentorship, leadership. Mr. Bush, Mr. Bush, let me go piggyback off what you said that I know to be true, because my kids, I'll be saying go to bed. One night I was saying go to bed, go to bed. I kept saying, so what I did was I called a dad. Now he's on the phone. He said, "You got me on speakerphone?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I can't say the word on air," but he said, "Get your," and guess what they did? They were asleep. Within 5 minutes, they were asleep. Not have been begging. Go to bed, go to bed. So yes, what you're saying is you're right. You're so
Yeah,
right.
I heard
You're
it said
so right.
once that the most powerful
Go
thing a mother can say to a child is, "I'm gonna tell your father." I remember as a young child, about it was sixth grade. Sixth grade, I was probably 11 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and I had done something in school. I came home, my mother was like, "I'm gonna tell your father." I was like, "No, mama, you beat me. let's go do this right here, right now. You ain't got to tell him nothing. Handle this business. I'm about that life. Let's go get it right now."
Right
But
now.
we don't even want to talk to him about this.
No,
But
I like that. We took Mr. Bush, we took them with the verbal visual kids, we took them to the funeral home, right? And we showed them the the caskets and everything. And They saw the body bag. And so they were really, two of the young men, they were really like, death is real. I say as real as it is. It just as sure as you standing in this funeral home, death is that real. And I said, now what would you do to change it? I said, can I tell you something? I said, death just don't come for grown people. If you're doing irresponsible things by picking up a gun, it can come for you too. And the funeral, they were asking the funeral director, like, what's the most, what was the toughest thing that he've ever seen, and he was explaining to them that he grew up in this. They was asking him, did he have nightmares and things like that? But he explained to them, like, it was one time he was going to pick up a body, and he said that it was an 18-year-old, and he said that, you know, usually when he go to pick up a body, they're already, you know, cold or whatever. He said, but this particular time, the body was still warm. And they was picking him up off the streets. And he was just telling them, like, you know, just like you would tell them, or Julius would tell them, you all do not have to pick up a gun to be tough. I don't know what it is. Like, what's the discord in their brains that make them think that if they pick up a gun, that makes them a man, or that makes them a tough guy, or that makes them a thug. I don't get it. I really, truly do not get it. And so that's why I am so out, like, partnering with you, Mr. Bush. And even I was talking to Brad, the vice president of 100 Black Men, and I was saying to him, like, what is it that we have to do for these kids? Like, what is it going to take? What is it going to take to make them change, to make them say, you know what? A light bulb, come on, I don't want to do this. So, Mr. Bush, what is it going to take?
You know, I watch a lot of short video reels, and I heard somebody say something that was so important. It said one of the problems that we have with education is we've taken all our young boys and put them in an environment that's conducive to teaching young girls. And their testosterone is running really high. They cannot sit still. They cannot. So by the time they get into junior high, they're already disconnected from the education that we're trying to force down their throat. And they're behind on the level that we'd like to teach them at, but we're still teaching the girls at the level that they should be at. Wow. So they're falling prey to the system that we have in place before they ever get out there and start doing anything else. So once they get into that environment now, they've gotten into that mindset as this doesn't work for me. But we're still trying to force it down their throat. We're still measuring them by how well they're doing in the thing that they've already identified doesn't work for them. They disconnect. Right. And when they disconnect, again, we're not offering any real alternative. We're saying, if this doesn't work, go sleep on a park bench. If this doesn't work, get it how you live.
Wow.
And they're responding back with, okay, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
You know, you look at our high schools right now, and you'll find a freshman class to be about 600 students. Then you turn around and get to the senior class, and it's only 300.
Wow.
And most of them are girls. Where are all these boys?
You're right.
Locked up or are dropped out. Because the system's not working for them. It's not designed for them. It's not catering to them. It's not teaching them the things that are important to them. It's teaching them what we want somebody to do in order to get the job that we have designed for them down the road. Like I just said, the nurses are even going digital. They have a machine with this ChatGPT that's now able to diagnose patients better than the doctors are doing, picking out things that the doctor says they would have missed. We are moving into an era right now where which all that stuff that we're telling them they need to know, they don't.
Right.
We're moving to an environment where in which we are not prepared for it. We can't fathom it. And how can we prepare them for that? I'll never forget in typing class, the home row, the first row, the second row, having to learn that. Keep your hands on the keyboard in the right places. These little dots on the keyboard right here remind you.
That's right. That's right.
And then I'll never forget when I got my Palm Pilot 650, and it had the swipe keyboard on the current keyboard where you could just swipe with one finger. I'm like, all that time I got in trouble for typing with one finger, and now here's the future that you were preparing me for. I'm using my keyboard, my touch screen with one finger.
Well, one finger.
That typing teacher could not fathom the future that I'm living in. The future that I
That's
have to
right.
exist in. That's what
That's
we're dealing
right.
with our kids right now. We can't fathom the future that they have ahead of them, so we cannot prepare them for that.
I like that.
They can see something that doesn't work, and what they're seeing that doesn't work is all the stuff we're laying out in front of them. Right now, you
Wow.
have so many people out here pumping up this stuff about getting your CDLs, going down to the
Right.
longshoreman hall. All that sounds wonderful until you really look beyond the walls of the city and recognize that Saudi Arabia and I think Japan or either China have fully automated ports. Their ports will shut down if a human walks onto the port. We
Really?
are obsolete in those environments. Yes, we have right there in this country autonomous driving semi-trailers that can go coast to coast without having to sleep. So they're going to make it there at least 16 hours ahead of us. We are being replaced in those environments that we're preparing our kids for.
So that's a failure.
We are failing them before they even begin. But they can see the little nuggets. It's kind of like if you had a room with 100 secretaries in there and they're all working on different projects, and then you got rid of 99 of them and put all the work on one person's desk. All the answers are there. It's just you can't find it. That's what the kids are like right now. They have so much being pumped in their head. These phones right here have more technology than what they sent the moon, spaceship to the moon with.
That's right.
They have
That
all
is
the
so
technology.
good.
They have all the wisdom. Chat GPT is able to give them anything they want to know instantaneously and write it out for them in a way where which we would think they went to college for. But they don't know how to format it, and they don't know what to structure it towards. But what they are feeling, what they're experiencing, is telling them that everything you're telling me is a lie. How many times we ever heard you need to get good grades so you can get into a good college, and then you need to graduate so you can go on to get a good entry-level position in a good company, work there for 40 hours a week for 40 years, retire with a big house with a white picket fence. And then look at my community and see
that don't work.
who that ever worked out for. It ain't never worked out for nobody.
That don't work.
Sam Kinison said it best when he said, they call it the American dream because you got to be asleep to believe it.
Right.
These kids, this is the woke generation. These kids are awake. They recognize that the lie is a lie, and they're not dealing with that lie. You can't.
They're not.
Some of them are respectful enough to eat it when you're talking about it.
To call you on.
They're not calling you on it. They're going to sit there, be mindful. It's like, okay, time's up. Thank you. I enjoyed having you. Thank you, sir. And they're going to move on. But they're not walking that line. You're walking right now. Kids are walking around fresh out of high school, making $1 million in the first 2-3 years of being out of school because they picked up on something that they know how to maneuver. It was an anomaly before. When I first got into this about 10 years ago, I had an article about a 16-year-old who went to work at Subway. And at the time that it took him to graduate high school and his friends to graduate college, when they were all 24 years old, his friends were graduating with their diplomas and going off to their entry-level positions. At 24 years old, he retired with $1 million.
Oh, wow.
Because he was sleeping on mama's couch working at Subway, taking that little $7 an hour check and putting it away into stocks and trading and learning a system that actually generated wealth.
Now, guess what, Mr. Bush? What you're saying is sorry. Let me say what I was watching TV one night, and the Chinese man, he said he would take his baby, his little boy, he was 2, put him in front of the TV, right, and let him watch the stock market. By the time he was 6, he could buy stocks, and he made his daddy millions.
And barely can read or write, but you can make the millions.
Right.
I learned how to do Forex trading one time, and I'm sitting there looking at this thing, and I barely knew how to do it. I didn't even get to the point where I knew about stop losses. I mean, I was still early in it. But I sat down one night with $300 in a mini account, and I'll never forget my first night. I took the $300 and turned it into $800.
Your first night?
Yeah, my first night.
Wow.
First night. Now, wait. Like Mark Cuban said, Everybody knows about that overnight success I became, but nobody knows about the 15 years it took me to become an overnight success.
Right.
So I spent 2 weeks on a play account practicing before I actually took my $300 and stuck it in a mini account and went live the first time. So I had 2 weeks of experience before I actually jumped in there and went live. But that first night I went live, I took $300 and turned it to $800. And the next day, still woke up, realized I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I just know if I do this and do this, I'm gonna make money.
That's right.
I don't know the proper terms, anything like the 6-year-old. Put this dot here, put that dot there, make money.
And that's what he did. He made his dad millions at 6.
You're finding a lot of our teens are developing tracks where they're identifying something, they're locking onto it and staying focused. Right now, most of them are distracted, too distracted to stay focused on anything that's going to make money. They hop and jump from one thing to another thing and are unable to acquire the knowledge to become a master of that one single skill that will put them on that platform. That was a rarity with that 16-year-old. Now it's common. It's common that we have young people under the age of 25 making millions in a year. Now I've done the math already. If you get a minimum wage job, $7.25 an hour, at 16 years old, Americans live to be age 83. And you work that same job till age 83 and never even get a pay raise. 40 hours a week for 40 years, whatever you want to call it. If you work until age 83, the Walmart greeter days, you'll end up being a millionaire. You'll make $1 million over that time frame. So it's no question, no matter what level you're at in our society, you get a job and work it, you're going to make $1 million.
Okay.
Now, the lifestyle of a person that makes $1 million over the course of 60-something years and the lifestyle of somebody that makes it over the course of 2 years is going to be totally different.
It's totally different. It's totally different.
Right now, we need to get them on the fast track to making their money. Some of these kids right now, we've already failed them. So you need to hit the reset button, go ahead and put them on a different track. I'm working right now with a young lady that I'm going to be sending off the Youth Challenge Academy. She was at Savannah High. Things weren't working out. We're on peer group, all that kind of stuff. So, okay, let's reset. We sat down. We talked about it. We enrolled in Youth Challenge Academy, and we'll be going for orientation next Saturday. So we're going to take her to Youth Challenge Academy, get her out of this lifestyle, let her fast track her education so she can get on her dream, which is becoming a soldier.
Wow. A soldier?
Yeah, she wants to be a soldier.
Okay.
So she is now 17 years old, a sophomore at Savannah High, or go down here for 6 months, finish up your GED education, and enroll in the military. And before your friends even graduate from high school, their senior year, you'll already be on your second year in the military.
Wow, that's really good.
Yeah,
that's really good.
Track. We can make moves. We can make things happen. I mean, we always have to remember that we still have our loved ones that are out there, that things can happen, things can't go wrong. But
that's right.
We have a lot of things going wrong right here in our society right now. Right here in our backyard, things going wrong. And we stay on this track that we're on right here, the likelihood of it going wrong is much greater.
Well, you know what, Mr. Bush, I want to say this. I want to take a turn because we're about to get ready to end the show. But I want you to speak to the men, the women who could be mentors, and what would you suggest? What would you say to them to lead them so that they can lead our children in the right direction?
So they can lead the children in the right direction?
Yes.
I'd have to repeat Reverend Paul Little. We should always preach the word and sometimes use words. Be that example that we want them to see. You don't have to lead them by the hand. You don't have to tell them what to do. You lead from the front. Don't be pushing kids to do things that you aren't willing to do. Don't be telling kids to run out here and go to college if you haven't been to college. Don't be telling kids to put down guns if you haven't put down guns. Don't be telling people to go get a better job if you're not going to get a better job. Lead from the front. Be the example, and the kids will follow the example. Who is it? D.A. Shalana Jones said it best. The biggest problem we have here in our society right now is our gangs are more united than our leaders are.
Wow.
We all have to come together, work cohesively, and lead in the same direction. The kids will follow.
That's right.
Lead from the front. That's all I can tell them. Be the example.
Well, Mr. Bush, guess what? I like to thank you. I think you are a great role model, a great example, because you really push for these young people to do good. You really, and I think that you are good. I see how the way they talk to you, and you talk to them when I am around you with them. So I think that you are a great leader. Thank you for telling the men and women what makes a great mentor. You have to be the exact. You know what I tell the kids? I say integrity is when I'm not around you all. And the things that I tell you that I'm not going to do, even when I'm not around you all, I'm not going to do it.
Amen.
So
Amen.
I like to thank you for being on the show tonight. Thank you for always being there for me and Julius Campbell and Fred Green. I really, really appreciate your office and your team. Thank you all tonight for listening to Incarceration to Incorporate. And guess what? It still take a village. That's not a cliche. It still take a village to help raise our children. So if you see a young man or a young woman going the wrong way, maybe your words can take and turn them around to do what's good. Okay, this is Marie coming to your hearing tonight. Good night, everybody. Good night, Mr. Bush.
Good night, Marie. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Bye.
I like that.